Welcome to episode 8 of the Degenerate Football Podcast. I'm RJ Choppy, your semi-fearless leader. This is Bo from the Football Glory Hole, and we are just continuing to dominate. Last week on this very podcast, our picks were 3-1, and that one loss we're not even taking responsibility for. That was the Alabama-Tennessee game. Bama was 35.5-point favorite, and then Tua gets hurt. I mean, you can't account for that, but that's gambling, right?
It is gambling.
That's what happens. You can't account for a lot of things. So 3-1 last week, still at 57% for the year at the Football Glory Hole. And in that Vegas Super Contest, 4-1 last week.
Woo, baby, 4-1. Another 4-1 Sunday, Monday, NFL fun, baby.
Yeah. All right, so let's take a look at some college and pro selections. We'll also get into the injury situation with Drew Brees and Patty Mahomes. If it's Patrick Mahomes, I'm staying away. If it's Patty Mahomes, I am betting the Chiefs all the time. All right, college first. K-State plus 23.5 at home against Oklahoma.
Yep, we like K-State in this game, plus 23.5. Oklahoma's 4-3 this year against the spread. They didn't cover against Houston, who is 68th in our power rankings. They didn't cover against Texas, who is 18th, and they didn't cover against Kansas, who is 73rd. They did cover against FCS South Dakota.
Oh.
UCLA, who's 69th, and Texas Tech, who's 57th. That was actually the most impressive win, but it was at home. All the rest of against the spread losses have been on the road. So Kansas State's 33rd in our power rankings. They're 4-2 right now against the spread. Their only loss at home against the spread was Baylor, where they were +1. It was a coin flip game anyway.
That's a pick 'em.
So this handicap is not about stopping OU. You're not going to stop OU, Chop. You can't do it. It's about the teams that have covered against OU, teams that scored points, right?
Yep.
Every team that covered against them scored at least 20 points. Kansas State is averaging 30 points a game right now, and all three teams that did cover with them averaged 7.0 yards in the air per play. That is exactly what Kansas State's 7.1 right now. Now OU YPA against defense against the air is 6.3 on the year, but on the road, Choppy, that balloons up to 7.
All right.
So that's the reason why it correlates to those road losses, right?
Okay.
I got a question for you, though.
I got an answer.
Who is a top 15 team at home against the spread since 1992?
I'm going to guess Kansas State.
He's getting so good at this game.
Wow, holy
so good
cow.
at this
How
game.
could I have guessed K-State? We're talking about K-State.
59.5% against the spread. Also, at home as a dog since 1992, 58% cover. And against the conference since 1992, 57.6%. Now, why does all that correlate? Again, we always tell you, think about Kansas State and their position in the Big 12 since 1992. How many years, Choppy, have they been the powerhouse of the Big 12? Like, K-State's going to win the Big 12.
3?
Maybe, right? So what does that tell you? That tells you they're getting undervalued consistently over all these years. It's still happening right now. They're being undervalued. Plus, K-State is a 5.5-point delta per our power rankings against the numbers. Wow. So take K-State.
All right, very good. Now, this next one, this is embarrassing. Okay, now, I grew up around this school. Their former coach almost became the head coach of my school. That former coach was the only coach that ever made this school worth a you-know-what. And that is Rutgers, who is a 7-point home dog to Liberty. Liberty. Liberty.
Oh, my gosh.
But Greg Schiano wasn't good enough for Tennessee. He had him at number 2 in the nation. The same Rutgers program that, by the way, over a 6-quarter span, had as many interceptions thrown by their quarterbacks as passing yards.
That is a hell of a stat, and that's difficult to do right there. That is.
He's speechless.
Yeah, I can't even talk. All right, Liberty -7. Very embarrassing for Rutgers. This is more of a fade on Rutgers than a bet on Liberty. They are 1-6 against the spread on the season.
Who is Liberty or Rutgers?
Rutgers.
All right.
Their only cover is against UMass. UMass is ranked 130. That's dead last in our power rankings on the season. Rutgers is currently ranked 127th. Now, Liberty is only 101st, but that gap between 101 to 127 is big enough to make this a top 10 delta of the week per our numbers. Last week we gave you Western Kentucky, non-Power 5 top 10 delta, nailed it. This is what we're going with this week on the non-Power 5 top 10 delta. Go Liberty, and little bonus, this is only their second year in the FBS.
Yeah, I don't even know what their mascot is. Liberties?
I think
Liberty Christians?
I think they're Liberty Mutual. They sell insurance or something.
There you go. All right, very nice.
But this year they are bowl eligible. This is their second year in the FBS. They can go to a bowl this year. Big time for Liberty. So Liberty -7. Go Liberty Mutual.
Oh my! They're gonna get a win over the Big Ten. Oh, that's just so juicy. All right, so that's your college selections. Let's go a little NFL. Buffalo -1.5 against Philadelphia. Philadelphia lost to Minnesota. They lost to the Cowboys. They are imploding from within. They just cut Orlando Scandrick. He is going off on them. Alshon Jeffrey maybe was the leak against Carson Wentz. What's going on with Philadelphia? Why Buffalo -1.5? Is it because everything I just said?
That's a lot of it. Right. So Buffalo -1.5. That line tells you right there that Philly's a better team than Buffalo, right? Because if it was in Philly, it'd be Philly -1.5.
Right.
That's not true. So Buffalo is 4.5 point better by our power rankings than Philly, which makes us a 6-point delta. That's huge in the NFL. But now we got to figure out why. Why is that delta so big? We think it's a couple different things. It's a combination. I think the public still holds out hope that Philly's a good football team. They do remember that game in Green Bay, right?
Yeah.
They went to Green Bay's 3.5 point dogs. They won by 7 outright. But they've only covered 2 against the spread, and that's one of them. The other one was against the Jets. Well, I'm sorry to say, Cowboys fans, they're second to Miami in our power rankings, is second to dead last.
That was Luke Falk.
Yeah, and they beat Luke Falk. That's another big difference right there. And maybe it's the fact that Buffalo didn't cover against Miami last week, right? They were laying 17. They only won by 10. Miami's historically bad. However, James has floated out a little theory on Miami. We'll see if it comes true. We've never seen this before, this level of historic, play, Miami being so bad. So possibly this could be the first time in history that NFL teams are kind of truly looking past an opponent.
Oh, yeah.
And preparing for 2 teams in 1 week. Now, we know, Choppy, that happens later on in the season, right? It's week 15. You know you got that matchup week 16 to win the division or not. Yeah. That week 15 game literally means nothing. That happens a lot. This, in the middle of the season, in week 8, that doesn't happen. So, but it's a good theory. We'll see if it holds water or not. We'll see if Buffalo was just looking past Miami to get to Philly. Maybe they prep for 2 of them. It's possible. But right now, like you said, Philly's living off reputation. They're going the wrong direction completely. Age, talent-wise, everybody hates their quarterback apparently on their team. And Buffalo, people forget this, is the number 3 YPP defense in the NFL, and Philly's offense is 24th YPP. On the other side, Buffalo's 16th YPP on offense, and Philly's 20th YPP defense. Wow. They got the edge on both sides. How they're only laid a 1.5, I really don't know, but go Bills.
All right, so the other one, Giants +7 at Detroit. Detroit is a team that they play good football. They play really sound football. They also play dumb football because their head coach can't manage a clock. How do you like this game?
So we like the Giants here, and this is kind of a different angle on this game because we have not liked the Giants all year. The numbers have not liked the Giants, right? But this week, the numbers love the Giants. It's only a 1-point delta, but just the fact that the numbers switch, because last week we had Arizona right by the numbers. They hated the Giants last week, won that game. So just the fact the numbers agree is going to make us dig a little deeper. Digging into this, why do the numbers like the Giants, even though it's only a 1-point delta, it could go either way? The Lions have cluster injuries on the defensive line. They have cluster injury in their secondary. Slay hasn't practiced all week. Not sure if he's going to play, but he hasn't practiced all week. And they just traded away one of their defensive captains and best safety in Quandre Diggs, right? Some people think that Coach Fatso is trying to pull a Belichick move and get rid of, talent before and get picks and stuff.
Yeah.
But, Choppy, people don't remember. I know Belichick's known for that, but what people don't remember through revisionist history, he didn't start making the Richard Seymour type trades until 2007. That's after 3 Super Bowls, and he knew that defense was getting older. They had to go in a different direction.
Right. And he had the equity built up within the team in the clubhouse. They weren't going to go anywhere.
Absolutely. Right now, that clubhouse is very upset that he traded that dude away. He was huge to them. On the other side of that, talking about injuries, Shepard should be back this week. This is Barkley's 2nd week back. He should have all the rust knocked off. And then 2 trends on this game. Lions are 9-19 against the spread when they're favored between 3.5 to 10 points. That's 32%. And the Giants are 7-1 as a road dog of 3.5 to 10. So those 2 numbers meet in the middle. 87.5% cover. Go Big Blue.
Wow, there you go. Okay, so 2 other things I want to talk about. Well, one other thing with 2 parts. How do you deal with New Orleans and Drew Brees and Kansas City and Patrick Mahomes? Do you wait on whether or not they're going to play or not to get a bet in, or do you hope Mahomes plays, take Green Bay plus the 3.5, or do you hope Brees doesn't and take Arizona plus 10? Like, how do you deal with injuries?
So, again, when Vegas sets these lines, they set it net, everything being equal, right? Because they go by their power rankings just like we go by the power rankings, and then they adjust per injuries or whatever that looks like. So right now, if you look at the line, Arizona being plus 10 in New Orleans by the power rankings, there's no way that's not figuring Brees being in there, because by the power rankings, it should be 6.
Okay.
It's 10. So Vegas is betting on that Brees plays. Now, if he does get announced in, it will go up another couple of points, but they're not going to be willing to take that bath by dropping it all the way down to the 6 and have everybody pound the Saints, and all of a sudden Brees shows up. Because even if Brees doesn't show up, they put it at 6. Bridgewater could cover 6, right?
He could.
I mean, he's 5-0 as a starter. They're playing at home.
Yeah.
They've got an excellent defense. You got a rookie quarterback and a rookie head coach going to one of the toughest environments in all of NFL to play for the first time. I mean, they're just not going to be willing to do that. On the flip side of that, so the Kansas City-Green Bay game, that line tells you with the Green Bay being -4, -3.5,
Yeah.
Vegas is betting that Mahomes does not play. So Mahomes is worth 8 points, which he's worth more than any other quarterback in the NFL. So Rodgers was in that position a few years ago. He was actually worth 10 in his peak, Choppy. Ooh. That's the most anybody's ever been worth ever. So
overrated.
Well, again, and you have to remember that 10 points means that's what he's worth to his team, right? Because you got to remember what Green Bay was in his peak.
Right.
Their defense was terrible. They couldn't run the ball. They had a wide receiver playing running back most of the time. So without Aaron Rodgers, they were a bad football team.
Yeah.
So Kansas City, conversely, relies a lot on Mahomes. For him to be worth 8 points, that lets you know that team's really not that good without him. So if you think about that, the game should be, I think we said we should be KC -3, right?
Yeah.
Or -4, sorry. So if you flip that around, Mahomes does play. It goes from Green Bay +4 to KC -4. So if that gets announced and that's where the line lands, you're looking at no value on that. So that would be a no play. However,
Right.
You and I were talking, there could actually be some value there, because that 8 points is Mahomes at his peak. So week 1, week 2, Mahomes is throwing 5-6 touchdowns a game. He's the MVP candidate, right? Now the last 3 weeks, what happened to him before he actually dislocated his knee? He got hurt. His play dropped off, right? They lost 2 games in a row.
Yeah.
So were you really getting 8 points from Mahomes, or was it closer to 6? If it was closer to 6 and that line flips all the way back around to +4 or -4, you've got a 2-point delta there then, right? So you got to take every angle into account. But right now, that is what Vegas is expecting Brees to play and expecting Mahomes not to play, and that's what those lines are telling you.
Good luck getting this information anywhere else. You're not going to have it. It's not going to happen. So there we go. We got K-State plus 23.5, Liberty -7, Buffalo -1.5, Giants +7. Those are the official Degenerate Football Podcast picks from the Football Glory Hole. All right, so we're back next week. You, of course, obviously follow me on Twitter for any kind of live bet action we may have over the weekend at RJ Choppy. And you can also listen Monday through Friday, 5:30 to 10, right here on 105 through the Fan. And Bo with the Football Glory Hole.
At FBall Glory Hole on Twitter, and you can find our podcast anywhere you find podcasts, the Football Glory Hole Podcast.
All right, next week we are back with episode 9 of the Degenerate Football Podcast.